Let's bring in DHS Secretary Kristi Noem. She joins us now live on set here in New York. Good to have you, Madam Secretary.
Thank you so much for having me today.
First up, the environment for these ICE agents.
Yeah.
We fear what may be coming next as we are not seeing the rhetoric tone down.
No, in fact, it's getting worse. Some of these Democrat leaders in some of these communities and states are really, really elevating the emotion out there and lying and putting these officers' lives in jeopardy. So I'm hopeful that people remember that they are just upholding the rule of law and remember what our streets were like under the last administration, how dangerous it was, and that President Trump and these ICE officers are going after murderers and rapists, people who are trafficking our children. In fact, since President Trump has been in office, we've located over 10,000 of these missing children and been able to return them back to their family members and to their loved ones, arrested over 400 different sponsors that were out there perpetuating this kind of activity. So these ICE officers are patriots, and they're going out every day and making our streets safer.
Can I ask you a direct question, Madam Secretary?
Absolutely.
How concerned are you? Because what we saw in Alvarado, Texas, that coordinated attack with AR-style rifles, one officer getting shot in the neck, body armor. This isn't just a protest that got out of control and passionate. How concerned are you that you may have to attend the funeral of one of your agents or officers?
Oh, I think about it every day. Every word that comes out of my mouth, I think, how can I protect these officers so they can do their jobs? What decisions can I make today? I think people recognize that when you're responsible for making decisions that puts people in a situation that could cost them their lives, that it's a heavy weight that sits on you every single day. So what these people that are political have done by elevating this to where we now have a 700% increase in violence against our ICE officers is really unprecedented. It really is unprecedented, this environment that we're in. And we need to do even more to tell their stories and about what they're doing and why they're doing it.
So we want to be careful because we don't want to give too much publicity to this, but we have to ask you about it. There's this new website out that uses facial recognition and AI to identify the faces of ICE agents and then mix them with things like other things on the internet, pictures on the internet, to identify them and dox them. And the website says, why are we targeting individuals at ICE? Aren't they just doing their job? They answer it. Evil is built on the back of people doing in boring jobs, just following orders. How dangerous is this?
It's extremely dangerous. And what you were talking about, Griff, is exactly what they're doing. They're not just threatening them and doxing them, they're ambushing them. They're threatening their families. They're talking about kidnapping their families. They're, going after their colleagues. It's extremely dangerous, and the rhetoric has to stop.
What is your reaction to one of the suspects involved in one of the attacks came in under the Biden administration?
Yes, absolutely. Well, the Biden administration let in people from all over the world that are horrible individuals, along with people who came here, trying to be a part of America. But we have removed hundreds and hundreds of known and suspected terrorists through these ICE operations. We have tens of thousands of criminals that have perpetuated violence against Americans have been removed just since President Trump has been in office. So our communities are getting safer every single day, but these targeted attacks against these law enforcement officers is a disrespect and a dangerous situation that we're in, that I hope every American, if you know a law enforcement officer, go today and thank them. Cook their family a meal, go support them, and go talk about it on social media or go have their backs. I think that's been the most disappointing thing to me, is people who are silent. Because as loud as this gets, all of us who understand the work that they're doing and what they're doing to make America safe, we need to push back and talk about how proud we are of them.
And what their families, spouses, and children are going through. I want to just shift gears a little bit, Madam Secretary, because this weekend will mark the one-year anniversary since the attempt on President Trump's life in Butler, Pennsylvania. We have a Fox Nation special now that people can watch and learn more from the Butler Emergency Services people, how they were dealing with it. And a lot of questions remain. It comes on the heels of learning that 6 Secret Service agents had been suspended. And I want to get your reaction to that and your thoughts.
Yes, so, the Secret Service has a totally different leadership team now than what they did before and have gone through, and this report has now just been released. I know that President Trump has told me that he's satisfied with it. We've changed communication channels and protocols on how Secret Service works with local law enforcement and how they talk during these types of security events. And then, you know, the big beautiful bill also gave them more resources that they needed. They needed more resources as far as training, but equipment, drone technology, counter drone technology. All of that was something that needed to be addressed, that I'm so thankful that we now have the funding that we can.
You have raised some concerns, moving on to Texas, you've raised some concerns about the alert system in Texas. Where are you on that right now? And then how comfortable are you that the administration will be able to help with the recovery efforts?
Well, we were there immediately. You know, as soon as the flooding happened, I went there and showed up. And it was devastating. The alert system went out from the National Weather Service, but that doesn't necessarily mean that the thousands of people that were camping along the river, you know, heard that alert.
What could be changed?
Well, I think that is always a response that the local officials make a decision for each of their towns, each of their counties, what their alert system is. I know the governor's been talking about it down there, about maybe potentially doing legislation in Texas that has some requirements to it. We certainly, as a federal government, will give them recommendations and support on what they could do, what other cities do. That's our role. And specifically with FEMA is to always come in when there is a situation like this, that we don't make the decisions for the local communities. We shouldn't make the decisions for the states because every state is different. Every town is different. What they need for sirens or sound alerts might be different based on their topography, on how the city is laid out. So we will give them recommendations and advice, but being there to allow the state to run the emergency response, but we come in and support it, is incredibly important.
On that point, CNN is basically got a report accusing you of slowing the process. Yeah. Would you like to respond to that?
Well, there you go. Fake news. CNN, again, is absolutely trash what they are doing by saying that, because our Coast Guard, our Border Patrol, BORTAC teams were there immediately. Every single thing I was on, they asked for, we were there. The governor and the emergency management director, Nim Kidd, are fantastic. And nobody there has said anything about that they didn't get everything that they wanted immediately or that they needed. And I'm proud of the work that we've done to support that. But, you know, we've got flooding going on in New Mexico as well, right. North Carolina. So I've been visiting with their leadership team and spent quite a bit of time on the phone yesterday with the New Mexico governor, getting them resources as well. And that's what we do. And, you know, the fact that CNN is continuing to be political and push out fake information and false and information and lies is not shocking, but it's a disservice to the country. It's a real disservice to the country because people start to mistrust anything that comes out then over the news. And then, well, that's true. Yeah. But they just don't trust anybody anymore. And that's not the kind of country.
Certainly we are praying for all those communities involved, obviously in Texas, but also New Mexico, as they continue to fight dangerous situations there. You did something early on in your leadership that affects the way we fly now. Yeah. You held a news conference announcing the changes to TSA and what happens when we go through security at the airport. So now we leave our shoes on?
We do. And I think everybody's excited about that. That was one of the first questions that I asked. You know, flying on our airline systems needs to be safe. We recognize what's happened in the past in this country. And my entire department was created after 9/11. It was put together in response to the attacks that we saw here in New York City and on our country. So, yes, questioning what we do as far as are our security checkpoints doing the right protocols, but also are we hospitable? Are we doing things that matter? All of those questions we asked right away. And one of the things I said specifically is, does it make a difference now with our layered technology, with the new training that we have and also the new steps of security that we have implemented in the last 20 years, do we still need to remove our shoes? And the answer was that it doesn't add a security benefit because of the new technology that we have and the new training.
Why did it take so long?
I don't think anybody asked the question.
Right.
You know, I guess that's the one thing that I don't know if you remember who had the job before I did. He wasn't exactly a rock star.
Well, we're glad you asked the question. Now we can all keep our shoes on.
Challenging every single thing we do has to be done. Right. And so there'll be more announcements coming. TSA has started family lanes. So if you've got kiddos, You have your own specific lane so that those individuals can have a special screening. Our military near air bases have their own screening lanes now so they can get through faster as well. Having a tailored approach to how we do security checkpoints, safe and secure, but also get people through the checkout line, because everybody knows that traveling can be miserable at times. It shouldn't happen at the security checkpoint, and we're putting all of our TSA officials through hospitality training as well.
We thank you for traveling to sit on the couch with us.
Yes.
Thank you for being here.
Madam Secretary, thank you so much.
Good to be with you.
All right, good to see you.